Welcome to another edition of the SVG News Sponsor Spotlight. I'm Jason Dackman, Chief Editor at SVG. I'm here with Jeremy Hochman. He's co-founder over at Megapixel. Jeremy, thanks so much for taking the time and welcome aboard at SVG.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Cool. So you guys are a company that we've heard a lot about. There's been a lot of buzziness. Obviously, virtual production has been a hot topic across, all of media, but especially within sports production. But for those that aren't familiar out there, can you tell everybody a little bit about what Megapixel does and what you guys are about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a younger company founded in 2017, an engineering group that's been together for some of us for over 20 years. And Megapixel is all about visual technology. And that can be everything from LED chemistry and the pixels that you see, and then backing all the way upstream to LED processing and metadata coming from content. And so we focus a lot on power and data distribution, a lot on display technology itself, and then the actual visual quality and content fidelity, making sure that what's coming into the processing systems actually shows up correctly on LED screens. And so we have a couple different divisions within the company. One of them does software and hardware, making a processing platform called HELIOS, which is well known for virtual production and live events, for its reliability and fiber-based networking. And then we also have a kind of custom solutions group that a lot of people don't know about, where we actually create and invent display technology. Sometimes these are projects that we work on directly, but oftentimes we're actually contracted by display manufacturers to help them launch new products and put our technology into their display products.
Very cool. Okay, great. Yeah, like you said, Helios is pretty known throughout the industry, and GhostFrame is a technology that's extremely exciting. When we first heard about it was when Fox Sports launched their new virtual studio, I believe prior to the 2022 NFL season, if that's
Correct.
right.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I still remember the quote from Zac Fields over at Fox Sports, who's their SVP. He said, "This is the secret sauce behind
Yes.
live virtual production and stuff." So can you tell us a little bit about that Fox Sports virtual studio project and any other projects that you've been a part of within the sports realm?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fox was a really interesting one, and I think the term secret sauce is kind of funny. We talk a lot internally about the fact that there's a lot of megapixel technology in a lot of the displays that people use on an everyday basis and don't realize that it's megapixel tech inside. Fox was a great project to work on because they embraced technology in the new studio and had a desire to go to a 4-camera shoot, which is very difficult in virtual production because there's a render engine, in this case Unreal, that's rendering a camera perspective for a given particular camera to have the right parallax and background to what that camera is seeing. Obviously, once you introduce a second, let alone third and fourth camera, the content on the display can be incorrect. It's going to be the wrong angle. It's not going to look right, and it breaks that illusion of the talent being in a real setting. And so GhostFrame is a software tool set that's running inside Helios, as well as extending all the way down into the tile. So we actually have very sophisticated software and video processing happening tile side as well. And so our electronics are actually inside the tile as sort of the engine driving it. And what GhostFrame allows us to do is take a production video frame, which at 5994 broadcast is, call it roughly 16 milliseconds. In that amount of time, we're able to divide up the video frame into what we call subframes. And we don't just divide it into like 2 or 4 subframes. We divide it into on some tiles as many as 20 subframes. And so the tiles can be running upwards of 1,000 frames per second. And that then allows us to insert different things into different subframes. And we're able to time the cameras to what we want the camera to see at what moment in time, so that each camera has its own exposed time with different content. what's really cool about GhostFrame layering on top of this is that we not only have control over what content is displayed on that subframe basis, we also can then insert things like color and tracking markers and the inverse image of what the content was. So why would you want an inverse image? If I insert an inverse image and a positive image, by playing them back very quickly, I now see gray. I don't see an image anymore. So what that allows is the talent can see one perspective and one image in their surrounding. Nothing's flickering or flashing. It's a comfortable location to be in, yet the cameras can see all these different things. So it's just a really great deployment. This is typically something that really only could have been done prior with like green screen and multiple ultimats or something like that. And we deployed the same technique over at the ESPN Catalyst stage as well. So I think if you haven't already, you're going to start to see some very interesting content coming out of that stage as well.
One of the big things, obviously, is yeah, it can look great and the technology can be phenomenal and the rendering engine can be amazing. But if it isn't easy and repeatable, especially for the talent, it's a non-starter, right? So again, the idea that the talent can function, the production team can function within a comfortable workflow, that's a huge part of it. So speaking of that, virtual production continues to grow across the media industry, especially within the sports realm, though. Like I said, we've seen a lot more interest. How do you see virtual production progressing over the next few years? Also, how do you see SMPTE 2110 and the upcoming or the evolving IP standard playing into the maturity of that ecosystem?
Those are great questions. So from a virtual production perspective, we've been in it a long time. I personally have worked on cinematic, what today is called virtual production, upwards of 20 years ago. So we have a lot of IP and software workflows in that space. Typically, though, in the past, again, they were all things that were meant to be recorded. They couldn't be utilized in real time like they can today, which I think was very powerful about where we are today technology wise, is being able to do this all literally real time. We're seeing a trend of virtual production becoming more common in broadcast. That was a later adopter, let's say, than movie making, because movie making, you can hold things together by a thread and it just needs to work once and then you're good. Broadcast,
Right.
that needs to be 24/7 reliability and all that stuff. So we're definitely seeing more of it in broadcast, which is great. We also are seeing a trend of the pixel pitch and getting smaller, meaning the resolution of the displays becoming higher resolution, and oftentimes stages being a little bit smaller. When many people hear about virtual production, the first thing that they think about is like big blockbuster movies and TV shows. And those stages are massive. But you have to keep in mind, they're not massive because virtual production requires a massive stage. They were massive because there needed to be like a scenic element of a spaceship, like physically brought into the building, right?
Yeah.
So so that's why they were so big and at that scale. But you also can leverage virtual production very economically in something that may only be 20 feet wide in a small broadcast studio. So the democratization of cost and features and flexibility, I think, is really key to seeing this go out more so, and especially with Helios being network based and having cloud connectivity. These things can be operated even remotely, so that you don't have to have your rocket scientist LED tech on site. You can actually have one person managing a whole bunch of studios at the same time from a central location. But on top of that, we're seeing connectivity really become a big deal. So as cloud workflows are becoming more prevalent, both for like previs and editing and even content reviews and those kinds of things, we also are leveraging that both from a control standpoint as well as content. So SMPTE 2110 is something that we felt really strongly to adopt very early. We were the first processing system to have native SMPTE 2110. I think even today we're still the only system that is capable of ingesting 100 gig natively. And so we work very closely with Epic Games, for example, and Unreal Engine, where and video graphics, where you can actually pipe 100 gig fiber directly from the render workstation into Helios, and communication can be bidirectional, and we maintain all that metadata. So it's allowing the pipe to be bigger, but also the workflow to be a lot simpler. So again, when we think about the democratization of all of this technology, it's less equipment, less failure points, and easier to manage because it all becomes networked. So we're really, really excited about it.
And that's certainly what is the most exciting part, is the democratization, something that was reserved for the Mandalorian or the highest of the high end not too long ago, is now capable for a lot of live sports, production entities, be they broadcasters, teams, leagues, or otherwise. So we're super excited to have you on board, Jeremy. We're super excited to hear what Megapixel has coming down the road. So make sure to keep us in touch. But for now, thanks so much for joining us, and welcome aboard at SVG.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Stay tuned to sportsvideo.org for more Megapixel news, as well as the SVG YouTube channel and SVG Play.